All right, we're ready to start. Lesson 1-4. So the first thing we're going to do, like I said, it's kind of a weird name for a lesson, but I guess it's okay once I think about it. Subsets of lines and planes. What we're going to do is take a line. We're going to break it down into, I don't know if you could call it a smaller part. We're gonna do some stuff with it. All right. So let's talk about a line first of all before we do the next thing. All right. So if I just have a line, we've talked about this. We went over the homework and all that kind of stuff. So there's a line right there. What's important about those arrows? What do those arrows mean? What do they tell us? It keeps on doing what? Going in both directions, correct? In both directions. It keeps going that way and it keeps going that way. You could also draw a line. Does your line always have to be like left and right? No, it could be slanted. Okay, it could be slanted that way. It could be slanted this way. It could go straight up and down vertically, right? But these are still lines and we still draw it like this. So what if this was line AB? How would I write line AB? Yep, put a capital AB and a line over top of it with what? Two little arrows. Okay, that's how you write it. Everybody got that? Now what about this one? CD. How do you write that one? CD, right. Now, since this is slanted, do I have to slant the line like this? No, and don't do that, okay? Don't do that. And again, I'll pick on that honors geometry class again. We haven't done angles in here yet, have we? Nah, is it this one? Yeah, it is this lesson. We are going to do an angle on here. Well, I'll talk about that later. So don't do a slanted one. So even though it's going slanted like this, we still just put a straight line like that. Everybody got that? Yeah, that's old stuff. No big deal. So what we're going to do now, we're going to introduce something else. Remember, a line keeps going in both directions. Now this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw something that only keeps going in one direction. And I'm going to put a point right here on the end. And in fact, we give that point a name. If we put that point on the end, what do you think? Let's call it the end what? Nobody's guessing? Okay, I tried to make it pretty easy for you. All right, if it's a point on the end, we call it an end what? Point. All right, so that's called the end point. It stops. It starts. However you want to say. It stops there. It starts there. Okay, I would probably say it starts there. Even when we call it an end point, it doesn't really end. All right, I guess if you went this way, it would end. But anyway, we call that an end point. This is where it starts. So it doesn't keep on going in that direction. It keeps going in how many directions? Just one direction. Okay, and we have a special name for this. And we call this a ray. A ray has an end point. So it's got a place where you actually start. And it keeps on going in the opposite direction. Everybody see that? You could have a ray. It doesn't have to go from left to right. It could go from right to left. Oops, let's do this. Okay. Yep. Well, the whole thing. It's not really a line. We don't want to say it's a line. Okay, this thing right here. This is a ray. All right? It's a ray. We don't say it's a line with an endpoint. It's not really, because if it was a line, it keeps going in both directions, doesn't it? All right, but this has an endpoint and it keeps on going in one direction. It could go to the right, it could go to the left, it could slant, right? It could start here and keep going that way, or it could, what do you think? Start up here and go this way. These are all rays. Now, we got to label it. We got to name it. And it should kind of make sense to you since we did this kind of same thing with lines. Let's do another. I'll just go from left to right. Okay. What do I call this point on the end? The end point. So we're going to name it something. Just call it A for now. Just make it easy. Call it A. Now, we're not just going to call this ray A, right? Because it starts here, but I could have another ray that goes like this, couldn't I? So I can't just call it ray A. Sincere, you getting all this? Catching up with your sleep? Somebody tap him, wake him up a little bit. All right? Sincere? I know you hear me. Sincere, wake up. All right? If you can't stay awake here, you can go sleep in Mr. Sarak's office. All right, that's how it's going to work. So it has an endpoint right there. Now, what array has to have is another point that it goes through. All right, I could put a point anywhere on here, all right, and put a B. Everybody write this down. I know it's hot in here, I get it, and it's kind of dark, but try to keep yourself awake, okay? Write this stuff down. And I know it's not the most exciting stuff in the world. I get it. I understand your situation, but you got to fight through it, okay? So this is A, this is B. Now, if I want to name it, I always, listen to this is very important, I always have to start with the endpoint, okay? The endpoint is where I start this. So with that said, what do you think I'm going to call this thing? Ray what? Ray AB. Now, with a line, it doesn't matter. You can go either direction, right? But with a ray, does it matter? Yes, it does. It matters. You always start with the what? With the endpoint, okay? With the endpoint. So this would be ray AB. It has to be that. Could I also call that ray BA? No. Why? Because it has to start with the endpoint. Heard somebody say yes. It has to start with the endpoint. Where is the endpoint on this ray? It's at A, so it has to start at A. You cannot call this ray BA. That's a completely different ray. Ray BA would start here and keep on going in that direction. Is that what's happening here? No. All right. Ray AB. Now, here's the symbol. You know what the symbol is for a line, right? It's a line with two arrows on it. Guess what the symbol for a ray is going to be? Well, it's not going to be just a dot, but it's going to be a line with one arrow. And we always make it to the right. It doesn't matter if our ray is slanted. It doesn't matter if our ray goes to the left, it goes down, it goes up, or it goes to the right. We always write a ray symbol going to the right. All right, so this is how we would name ray AB. Let's do another ray. Let's make it slant down a little bit. And let's call this P. Let's put another one on here and call it Q. What would I name this ray right here? There's only one answer for this, and that's it. Sincere. PQ, very good. Let's not say PQ, though. Let's say what? It's ray PQ, right. So ray PQ. Now remember, even though this is slanted down, how do I always write a ray symbol? Yeah, I always write it to the right like that. It doesn't matter the direction that your ray is going, our ray symbol will always go to the right. It's not too hard, is it? It's not much different than a line, but it is. It's got some differences for sure. It's got an endpoint, and it definitely matters that it's PQ. Can I call this ray QP? No, I cannot. Okay, because it starts at P and it goes through Q. Let's go back to the ray AB again. What if I put a C right here? Well, what if you had a line? Let's go back to lines again, because I want you to think about this. That's it. Because if I had a line and I had 3 points on a line, like X, Y, and Z, I would not call this line X, Y, Z, would I? Okay, I just pick how many? 2, all right? So on this one, it's kind of the same way. I'm not going to use all 3, because I could have like 17 points on this. I'm not going to write down 17 letters, am I, for that, okay? What would I could call this, I could still call this ray AB. Why? Because it starts at where? A, and it goes through what? B. If it goes through B and keeps on going, it's also going to go through what else? C. So I could call it ray AB, or there's only one other thing I could call it. Ray what? AC. Good. All right, so if I have more than 2 points, the A has to be first. That's super important. It has to be first. Is ray AC the same thing as ray BC? No, because BC, ray BC, would start here. It wouldn't include any of this stuff in between. You got it? All right, so if you have more than 1 point, watch, let's put another one. Let's put a D right here. Let's put an E right here. You got a bunch of different things you could call this. I could still call it ray AB. I could still call it ray AC. What else could I call it? Ray AD and ray AE. Okay? It doesn't matter. Could I call it ray EC? No, because this particular ray starts where? At A. So the A always has to be first. Everybody got it? Okay. And you can't go backwards. You can't say it's ray BA. This ray right here is not ray BA. It's not ray CA. It has to start at A. I think I've emphasized that enough, haven't I? I think so. All right. Let's just talk about the word between. This is kind of, you're probably looking at this and saying, well, I know what it means to be between two things, but we'll kind of talk about it a little more geometrically. I'm not going to give the full definition they give in the book because they do this intersection thing and da-da-da-da-da. I'm just going to talk about it, all right? So what if you had point S, point P, and I'm not saying that point P is in the middle, so I'll make that a little shorter than that one. Tell me something about point P compared to point S and point R. I used the word already. What is it? It's between. That's right. It's between point S and point R. Everybody see that? So if I could do this, watch. Let's do this in a different color. If I could go from P and go through R, what did I just draw right here? Ray what? Ray PR, okay? And let's say I start at P as well, and I go this way, then what ray is that blue one? That's ray PS, okay? If those two rays lie on the same line, then what must be true about P then? P's got to be in between, okay, or between. We don't really say in between. We just say it's between S and R, all right? I don't want to spend much time on that. Every once in a while they might say something about this is between. You probably already knew what that meant anyway, all right? This is pretty important. Look at PR and PS. See how they're going completely opposite directions, right? And those two rays kind of form a line, don't they? You see it? So this red ray and the blue ray form a straight line. So we say that these are opposite rays. Okay? They're opposite rays. Yeah, they're opposite rays if P is between S and R. All right? That's all you got to say there. All right, let's talk about this. What if I just went from S to R? Tell you what, let's just redraw it. What if I did this? What if I said that this was S and this was R? We mentioned this very briefly when I was reading off the answers to the homework. I don't know if you recall. But look, do we have arrows on either end? So does it keep on going forever on either end? No. It starts and it what? Stops, okay? Starts and stops, starts and finishes, ends, however you want to say it, right? So from here to here. So this would be considered, this point right here would be considered a what? We've already talked about it. An endpoint. So how many endpoints does this particular thing have? It's got 2. So that's an endpoint, and guess what that is? That's also an endpoint. Okay? So you got 2 endpoints. So it doesn't keep on going forever and ever. So we don't call it a line. What do you think we call it? We mentioned this a couple times before. We haven't really taught it officially. It's a part of a line, right? Or it's a line, what? Segment. Okay? It's a line segment. So a line segment has 2 endpoints. All right? Here's how we write a line segment. And again, I talked about this when I was going over the homework. So what do you think I would call it? Probably put an S and an R there. What do you think the symbol is? Just a line and no arrows. Okay? And don't put dots at the end. See how I have the dots for the endpoints? Okay? You don't need to put dots on this. Just a straight line with no arrows at all. That would mean what? Line segment. Now, on a line segment, it doesn't matter which order you put it in. So I could also call it what else? Line segment RS, right? Okay, it doesn't matter. What if I put another point in here? Is line segment SR the same as line segment SQ? If it was a ray, watch, what if I had an arrow like that? Is SQ the same as SR? Is ray, I'm sorry, is ray SQ the same as ray SR? Yeah, because it starts at S and it keeps on going in that direction. but this does not keep on going. So is SQ different or the same as SR? Line segment. They're different, okay? Look how short this is. This is a lot shorter, isn't it? So we can actually look at the length. You can't really look at the length of a ray. Since it keeps on going forever and ever, you can never measure it, right? You can never talk about the length of that ray. Would you agree with that? Same thing with a line. But a line segment, absolutely you can measure it, all right? You can take a tape measure, okay, put it here and stretch it out and get some kind of a length from there to there, all right, depending on what you're measuring. Okay, that's good enough. Let's do a couple other things. What is going on over there? I don't know. Let's see. When do we get out of here? Is it 45? Oh, my goodness. We took too long on that homework. That's what we did. All right, let me do... I'm not going to talk about the planes. Okay, let's do this. We talked about rays, so check this out. We briefly mentioned this. Briefly. What do you think this thing is going to be called? If I put two rays and I have them meet at a common point, what do we call this whole thing right here? That's a ray and that's a ray. What's that whole picture right there that I just drew? An angle. An angle. All right, so this is an angle. And you probably were never told this, but what is an angle made of? It's made out of two what? Not two lines, because look what it does. It doesn't keep going in that direction. This is a point. Two rays. That's right. This is a ray and this is a ray. So let's put a P here. Let's put a Q right here. And let's put a R right here. Okay? So look at where both endpoints of the rays are. They meet at the same point, don't they? And what is that point? Point P. That point's very, very important. In fact, we give it its own name. We call it a vertex. All right? So that's the vertex of the ray. Or of the angle, I'm sorry. This ray right here is called the side of an angle. And so is this one. That's a side of the angle. Okay? Here's how we label it. We make a little angle symbol. Okay, that's the angle symbol that we use for a ray, or for an angle. Keep saying ray. Now, this is very important, okay? This might be the last thing we talk about. Well, maybe I'll do something real quick. So look, the P, the vertex, has to be in the middle. We're going to use 3 points. We're going to use 3 points. The P has got to be in the middle, or the vertex has to be in the middle. So what would I call this then if the vertex has to be in the middle? QPR. Everybody see that? QPR. Could I call this angle QRP? Why not? That's right, because that would mean R would be in the middle. R can't be in the middle because it's not the vertex. The vertex has to be in the middle. So what are the only 2 ways I could name this? There's actually 3 ways, but we could call it RPQ as well. Here's one more way we could call it. If you only have one angle coming out of that vertex, do I have any more than just that one angle? Nope. I could just call it angle P and not even use those other 2 letters. So that's kind of nice. Well, if they ask for that name of that angle. If they ask for the name of this angle, you could just call it angle P. Here's another way you could name an angle. You could put a number in here, like a 1. Everybody see that? So I could also call it, I'll put another or. If I had a 1 right there, I could also call it angle 1. All right? You'll see that every once in a while. You'll see some numbers in there. All right? So there's a bunch of different ways we could call this. Let's do another couple more words and then we'll be done. Watch. What if I had a point inside of this angle? See how it's inside of it? Call it A. We call this, it's in the interior. Hang on. This is the interior of the angle. What if you had a point out here? What would you call this? The exterior. The exterior. Okay, they might ask you about that in the homework. Okay, and this is interior, and that one's exterior. I think we pretty much, there's an example I would have liked to hit, but that's okay. So your homework. It's on Thursday. It's on your lesson plan thing. So it's section 1-4. Remember, we skipped 1-3. This is 1-4. And it's pages 21 and 22, 21 and 22. And we're doing, everybody watch, 1 through 12. and I'm going to skip a bunch in the middle. Then I go from 39 to 42. There it is. That is due on Monday. It's right there, 42. I got written down on my lesson plan. 1 to 12, 39 to 42. It's on RenWeb, it's on YouTube, and I gave you a piece of paper on Monday with this on here. So there should be no excuse. See you on Monday.